What's going on, you guys? Coaster here, just talking about the Super Bowl, and I will not talk about the Raiders in this video, as the title implies. I'm just going to here talk about the two teams, and then I'll break down who I think will win and who I want to win. So, without further ado, we're going to talk about the AFC, the New England Patriots. They turned it around real quick. We thought Mac Jones was going to be a bust and then going to hamper the team. Bill Belichick got old. People wanted to make fun of that empire that finally fell. And now, 2 years removed from Bill Belichick's last season as head coach, they turned it around with Mike Vrabel as a head coach in year one. A lot of that has to do with good free agent signings. I mean, the Patriots were kind of able to just put their money on free agent signings because they didn't have as much room otherwise. They had to get rid of the previous regime and people and personnel. And it was some good signings. I mean, Milton Williams is a big one. Stephon Diggs is another big one. There's Robert Spillane. There's too many guys on the roster. I can't say all of them. But they still have the homegrown guys like Christian Gonzalez, who is pretty good corner, pretty legit corner. I don't know if he's the number one in the league, but definitely one of the best. They just made some good signings and good moves, and good coaching will do that. But really, the biggest reason why this team turned it around in such a short time was Drake May. Living up to the hype, top draft pick, he comes in and he develops, and suddenly they look like the Patriots of old, of a empire, or a dark empire, whatever you want to call that. They've turned it around so quickly, and the rest of the AFC just doesn't know what they're doing. Where did I have the Patriots? Well, I didn't think they were going to win the division, but did I think they were going to be competitive? Yes. I thought they were going to be like a 7 to 8 win team, so 7-10, 8-9. I didn't think they were going to be great, but did I think they could rebuild quickly a little bit well? Yes. I just thought it was going to be a matter of what does Drake May do and what does the talent go there. Now, seems like a good guy, and as I said, the Patriots turned it around. They took care of business, but also they went undefeated on the road. That's something you can't ignore. If you have an undefeated road record, you could throw home field advantage out the window. And to their credit, there's a lot that's gone in from within, and it's crazy that it took only 2 years removed from Bill Belichick that they're now back winning the division, and it caused the Buffalo Bills to fire their head coach. It caused other heads to roll. Look at teams in the AFC who I thought were better, and they all ended up underachieving, or they just didn't make it. So the Patriots were the beneficiary. So the Patriots took the AFC just with very good signings, but even better coaching, and a combination of an AFC that just wasn't there. That's my summary of the Patriots. Now for the Seattle Seahawks. This is the other interesting story. You're in year 2 of Mike McDonald as your head coach. Let's rewind a bit. Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll had a beef. They side with Pete Carroll. They traded Russell Wilson for picks. Those draft picks end up being pretty good, with Devin Witherspoon being one of them. You have Hall. You have the linebackers. Sorry, Boye Mafe. I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong, but yeah, those guys, as well as the Charles Cross, your lineman. You had multiple defensive starters plus a lineman for the loss of Russell Wilson. It worked out pretty well. Then comes the draft picks. But the team was never good enough. The Seahawks, after the Legion of Boom, were pretty much a mediocre product as a whole. They had to try to rebuild, and then they weren't hitting their draft picks. So Pete Carroll eventually hit his expiration date, and I thought the Seahawks held to him for a while. I mean, you cannot hold on to that Super Bowl of 2013 forever. That's just the reality of sports. I think if you win a Super Bowl, usually you get about 4 to 5 years of security before you can really start judging a head coach again. But I know there's times a guy's been fired earlier, but about 4 to 5 years. Once those 4 or 5 years are up, all hands are off. All bets are off. So Pete Carroll, they held on to him for quite a while, almost 10 years to remove from that Super Bowl. And John Schneider finally has controlled the roster. I mean, Pete Carroll was the guy who had final say of roster control. So Schneider has finally drafted some guys, and he's hit a lot of gold, especially with the secondary. I mean, it's not exactly the Legion of Boom, but they have a lot of guys who are homegrown. But they've also done a great job at mixing free agent signings or guys from the outside, from a trade, like Ernest Jones. Comes in from the outside, becomes their starting linebacker. Then you have guys like Leonard Williams and DeMarcus Lawrence. A couple of guys known from both the the Cowboys, and then Leonard Williams was on the Jets for a long time. Veterans that are doing a pretty good job complementing the other defensive players. But what stands out about this defense is that it's not all about their secondary like it was 10 years ago. It's about how they have not just one star, but a constellation of stars. And they have way better depth than they did, I would say, in the Richard Sherman era. So a lot of these guys in the secondary, they may look like no-namers for a lot of people because they don't get all the reps, but they can rotate guys left and right. The linebackers, the secondary, they can all cover in and fill in, even though guys like Tarek Woolen or Kobe Bryant or I believe it's Love, all those guys can just kind of take over and make plays when they have to. And that's reflective of good coaching, legit coaching from Mike McDonald, who is in his really, he's like under 40. That's the craziest thing about it. The best is really yet to come, and he's been up with the times. Home run higher. It took 2 years to turn around an entire team, and I knew that the defense was going to be a big, big reason for it. But even on the offensive side, what's very big about Seattle, they signed Sam Darnold coming off a bad postseason game that some might say it was a gamble, but they didn't have a quarterback. They traded Geno Smith, which, to be fair, that's definition of an insanity to keep him because he was just an above-average quarterback at the time. So they move on from him, sign in someone else, and then they're able to take off. They still have weapons like Kent Walker. They have a much better offensive line than I think from 10 years ago. The biggest thing is in pass protection because that's why Sam Darnold has proven to be as great as he is this year. And to his credit, he erased a lot of doubters with some big throws and big games. The biggest bold trade, though, of this bunch was, of course, trading DK Metcalf. And then you put your faith in Jackson Smith-Njigba, or JSN, of course, and he has the best season ever in his career up to this point. So, true number one receiver, and now you have all the other supporting cast, even guys like Cooper Kupp, who, former Ram from the outside, he's been able to do things as well as a contributor. So, Seattle, very well-rounded team. They also even make a mid-season acquisition in Rashid Shaheed, who helps both some big play in offense, but also on special teams. He's had a lot of return touchdowns in such a short time as a mid-season pickup. So John Schneider is hitting all the buttons, drafting well, making good trades, making good signings, and it's also Mike McDonald who's coaching the defense up. But I didn't think the offense was going to look as good, or I think they're a top 10 unit nationwide as well. But really, it's how their defense, the dark side, as they've been calling it up there, the dark side is it's meant to be lights out. Feels kind of plain and unoriginal, not as character like Legion of Boom, but the dark side, I think, is one of the better, it's definitely one of the better things out there when it comes to defense. I wish I had one like that. So where do you come and who do I think is going to win the Super Bowl? Well, short answer, I think the Seahawks are the better team. Just their defense, I think they're going to be better coached. Now, you might say Vrabel's got the better experience, more games coached, more coaching, all that. But I think Seattle is just more with the times. They're a younger team, much more hungry, basically they're just better at coverage. When you look at the tape, how fast they are at getting guys left and right to stop plays, it's going to work. The only way I see the Patriots win is if they try to repeat what Sean McVay did the week before and what the Rams, the NFC title game was mostly an offensive slugfest. There was two offenses trading blows left and right, but it took one special teams turnover that made the difference in that game. So the Rams have always been a thorn in their side. They're going to have to try to copy the tape, maybe attack the mid-range game. But when it comes to even eliminating the short plays, the Seahawks can block the run. They can also block the long pass. So you have to go with the short range. You can't really even check down. I actually have seen tape where Seattle linebackers can cut the check down off if they really have to. So I just don't think the AFC was good this year. All the teams in the AFC that I thought were contenders were the Chiefs, the Ravens, and the Buffalo Bills. But all three teams underachieved big time, or they didn't even make the playoffs. So all these other AFC teams, somebody had the benefit from it. Some teams were winning on BS, like the Denver Broncos, who had all these close wins that weren't even good. And then you have the Patriots, who just took advantage of all these other teams not being very good. On the other hand, the Seahawks actually blow out their opponents, take care of business, and they just proved time and time again that their defense was number one in the league for a reason. And the old saying, defense wins championships, I just think Seattle's defense is much smarter than everyone else's, and I think as long as it's easy to say you don't commit turnovers, don't make mistakes, but Seattle's defense is going to make you do that. I like Seattle winning, pulling away late. I think it'll be competitive in the first half. They'll try to feel each other out, but I still see Seattle just pulling away. Seattle's the better team. Now, personally, I don't have a much emotional ties to this game. I mean, is it funny when I think about how the Seahawks could win in the 49ers stadium? Sure. I mean, we had to deal with the Chiefs winning in Vegas, so there's that. But it'd be kind of fun to say that it's kind of an even playing field now that the Niners could have a rival win, the most hated rival win in their own house. Yeah, that could happen. But on the other side, the Patriots have two guys that I don't really like. No, it's not Spillane. No, it's not Mumford. It is Josh McDaniels and Todd Downing. Both of those guys are on the Patriots coaching staff. I can't stand those guys. We all know what they did on our staff, and they were terrible. It has less to do with the past. It has less to do with Tom Brady. It has way more to do with who's working there now. And, I won't be happy if the Patriots win, but I'm not going to feel like it's the end of the world. At least everybody sits in misery together if they won 7. So, yeah, if the Seahawks win, that's what I'd prefer, and I'll get to laugh, and it's kind of cool. A lot of ways, I'd feel very happy for Sam Darnold, for a guy that bounced around a lot and figured out on his own, which you have to credit Kyle Shanahan. I think what he learned under Kyle Shanahan developed what it was missing, and he took it with him to both the Vikings and now the Seahawks. So Sam Darnold, I mean, up to this point, credit where credit is due. And as Mike McDonald was saying about perception, he said, we don't care. You could always say that, but then there's actions. The actions will always speak more than words, and I think the Seahawks really did a great job building up that defense, but really also just coaching up that defense. I think it really is more to do with coaching than anything else, and we'll see where the Super Bowl goes. Who do you have winning? I'm curious. But yeah, I have the Seahawks winning by 10 to 14 points. I think it's going to be a 2-possession game where they pull away late. So what do you have? I want the Seahawks and say good luck to the Seahawks in winning this Super Bowl. We'll see what happens.